Hello everybody, this is B Harper from supermarcy.com and I welcome you to a very special edition of my 32 Favourite Things video series. Today I'm going to be talking about one of my undoubtedly most favourite movies of all time. I am of course referring to Aliens, directed by James Cameron, starring Sigourney Weaver, Michael Biehn and a whole bunch of badasses. Alright, so there's really nothing I can contribute in terms of explaining the plot and its general reputation, so I'm just going to tell you about my thoughts on the movie, why it's so special to me, and just why it has achieved that status in my favourite films list. So here we go. Obviously we have the themes. There are plenty of strands at work in Aliens, but of course you can't dismiss one of the most obvious. The mother and daughter allegory, or mother and child, if you want to be a little more specific about it. On one side, you have Ripley and Newt. Both are taking solace in each other's company after having lost their own members of their own family. And on the other side of the coin, you have the Queen Alien, who effectively runs all of the colony on LV-426, who also happens to have her own version of maternal instinct. There is nothing Ripley or the Queen will not do in order to ensure that the lives of their children are being protected. They will do anything in their power to make sure that their children are provided for and that they live through anything, even if it means giving up their own lives. On one end, you have Ripley going on what could have been her most potentially suicidal mission to rescue Newt towards the end of the movie. I mean, she is finally facing all the demons that have been haunting her from the first movie, all the demons that she has been trying to block out of her mind and been trying to forget, but she can't. Finally, she's going down into the depths of hell on the elevator, and she is ready to get this child back at whatever the cost. Then you have the Queen Alien, the fact that she took it upon herself to escape LV-426 on the Sulaco ship, and then she, tries to get revenge on all of her children that have perished, on Ripley, on Newt, on poor Bishop. I mean, Jesus. What next? Well, obviously, again, female empowerment. This film is a very feminist movie. James Cameron has always made it a point to put in strong, capable, and realistic female characters. The reason why I say realistic in this case is that, look, Sigourney Weaver is beautiful. She's always been beautiful. But her sexuality is not, at the forefront with Ripley. You can tell that she's a woman, you can tell she's feminine, but at the same time, she is seen as a very strong, capable figure who will do it, whatever it takes at all in order to survive. And the performance he got out of Sigourney Weaver, James Cameron got out of Sigourney Weaver through his script, is phenomenal. Not only do you have Ripley, of course you have the Queen Alien. Considering it's like a elaborate bunch of visual effects, you can still feel that the sensation of hate and that the will to protect and to avenge her young. Considering that she is a 20-foot tall puppet with a lot of sort of attachments, you can still feel emotion from this creature. It's very akin to what you probably get from a Ray Harryhausen creation. Ray Harryhausen was able to instill a sense of emotional core to the monsters he made. Even with somebody as stoic and stone-faced as Talos from Jason and the Argonauts, you still got a sensation of some sort of human connection with him. Emotional, sensational depth. It's amazing. What else can I tell you about? Of course, the other female characters in the movie. Vasquez, pushes the envelope in terms of the masculine and feminine dichotomy. She's made herself to look distinctly more masculine than, say, Ripley or Farrow, the pilot. But at the same time, you can totally tell that she and Private Drake are in a sexual relationship. Come on, you've seen it. You have seen it with the looks they give each other and the way Drake thinks that the world of her. He thinks that she is the bee's knees. You're just too bad. But also, of course, with the movie, the fact that James Cameron took it upon himself to make a sequel to one of the most suspenseful and scary films ever made and decided to do something different with it. Although he took a completely different track, he still managed to remain respectful and, respectful and devoted to the franchise. He still kept it within a sensible realm of plausibility. Some people have tried to compare the first two movies, but to me there's no comparison. They're both very different movies, and for very deliberate and different reasons. Both of them exist on an equal plane, just in a different plane, if that makes sense. Of course, the ingenuity of the movie. Considering this film was made before the advent of CGI, a lot of this stuff was practical. You did have some sort of animation, I think it was rotoscoping, when you saw, those strikes of electricity going through pieces of machinery and stuff. I mean, you see it towards the end of the movie, but for the most part, they are throwing every single practical effect in the book in this movie. You get puppets, you get pyrotechnics, you get models, you get miniatures, you get like matte paintings, you get the whole goddamn shebang. And even today, it holds up gangbusters. Although the budget of the film was more than Ridley Scott's Alien, Cameron was incredibly economic with how he spent it. He spent equal amounts of time on making the film look impressive and actually being impressive. He had the benefit of having a great cast of actors, as well as a great crew behind the camera. Although people say that the Marines in the movie are pretty sort of one-note, and I do agree to an extent, I still feel that the actors bring their own sense of charisma to them, and that is what makes them memorable. I mean, you have Apone and, all these other characters who admittedly don't last very long when everything goes to shit in the movie, but still, they leave an impression on you. And, of course, I gotta make special mention of Bill Paxton as Private Hudson. Hudson is usually written off as being the whiny, complaining sort, but to me, Hudson is the audience. He pretty much fulfills the role that Veronica Cartwright filled out as Lambert in the first movie. He is the voice of the audience. He is the audience's reactions to all these terrible, strange things going on. And Bill Paxton really sells it. I mean, he comes off at first as all bravado. It's like, yeah, we'll kill the bugs, blah, blah, blah. But as soon as everything goes to hell in that first assault, he is shell-shocked. He just cannot believe this has just happened. And that's what the audience is feeling, just that sensation of, this is not what I was expecting. And all because he was just so confident because he had all these guns and ammunition and all that. In the end, that doesn't matter. Which brings me to the whole Vietnam War themes. This is a very obvious a very obvious point, but it's still prevalent nonetheless. It basically says that, overconfidence can and will be your undoing. And in the case of the Marines, they thought they were technologically advanced compared to the primitive savages, being the xenomorphs, but it ends up being that the xenomorphs know that the compound and all of Hadley's Hope better than the Marines do. The Marines basically don't know shit about the compound, okay? They have to explore the place and they have to get map readouts in order to understand them. But these xenomorphs have been there for a while. And another train of thought that brings me to why I think Aliens are so great is the xenomorphs themselves. You already know how much I love the xenomorph, but I love how in the movie Cameron just expands on the xenomorph life cycle and, makes them grow, literally. The one in the first movie was an infant as well as a drone, that was just like a little worker bee. But most of the ones in this movie are warriors. They are the Praetorian Guard who go out and hunt people down and bring them back for the Queen and everything like that. They are designed for murder. And just their design and everything, the way that their heads sort of like slope back and the way their bodies are shaped and the way they move, that sort of thing. Considering they only had 7 alien costumes, the fact that Cameron made them look numerous is impressive. And of course, the Queen Alien. The baddest bitch of them all in the universe is the Queen Alien. A woman! Damn right. Yeah, there's just not enough time to discuss how much beauty this movie has to be, how much wonder it contains for my little primitive screwy mind thing. I don't know what the hell I just said, I apologize. But yeah, Aliens to me is not just the epitome of a magnificent sequel, but just the epitome of a fantastic movie all up. The fact that so many other films in the meantime have tried to replicate the dynamic in this movie, you know, amounts to something. Whether or not those attempts were successful are irrelevant, but the fact that they took inspiration from this wonderful piece of work, and they said, we want to be able to try and emulate that because it was that good. It's the reason why stuff like fan fiction and stuff like that is written. I mean, granted, it depends on the caliber, but it all comes back to a sense of admiration and the want to be a part of it in your own sort of distinct way. It's enough to make my heart grow warmer and get bigger and everything like that. Yeah, Aliens to me is just amazing. It really is. It almost brings tears to my eyes because of just how right it gets it. If there's only one thing I can complain about in this movie, it is not necessarily a criticism, but considering how scary the first film is, I mean, granted, Aliens can be quite tense in places. You and I know this, but it's pretty hard to sort of like have a distinctly true feeling of horror. Like every like 5 minutes, you go, "Oh fuck yeah! Did you see that? Did you see that shit? Holy fuck!" I exaggerate, or maybe not. But the fact of the matter is that both of these films are very different, but they are still wonderful nonetheless. In terms of rewatchability, I have rewatched Aliens more so than I have any of the other films, and it is probably for all those reasons I just rambled on to you about. Every time I watch it, it just gets better. And that's when you know, sorry, I've got a really itchy nose, and that's when you know a movie is that fantastic, when it's, you know, so ingrained into pop culture, into your mind, that every time you watch it, you don't breed a sense of contempt with the familiarity. You breed admiration. And there's just so much great stuff in Aliens. I mean, you could make the point that James Cameron isn't the filmmaker he used to be. Well, that may or may not be the case. It depends on who you ask. But to me, Aliens is one of those high points in his filmography. And that's not to say that he's a bad film director at all. I mean, hello, like Terminator 2 and The Abyss and True Lies, Titanic. He's had a very consistent film record because he knows what you want as a film goer, and he also knows what he wants. Like, he is in sync with what his audience needs and what he needs to see on the screen, the stories he needs to tell. You know, if James Cameron were here, I'd probably give him a kiss on the cheek. And probably give him a slap across the face for making us wait so long between movies! Well, anyway, guys, yes, that was my ramble about Aliens. Everything in this movie, to me, is the epitome of near perfection. And of course, the fact that Sigourney Weaver was nominated as a Best Actress for the Academy Awards, for a genre that rarely recognises something like that, it's astounding, because it breaks the barriers. And with every generation, more barriers are broken and more inspiration comes from it. It's very romantic without the Byronisms. Okay, guys. Well, that's me finishing wasting your time, and I shall see you again with another 32 Favorite Things video. Mwah!